Anime you should watch. Re:Zero, starting life in another world. Natsuki Subaru is just your typical Japanese teenager when he suddenly gets transported to another world. Whoa, wild! That's never happened in anime before. Okay, it actually happens all the time. Even the show acknowledges how much of a trope this is, but Subaru eagerly accepts his role as the protagonist of the story and goes off on a wild adventure, quickly running into Amelia, a half-elf girl with silver hair. She's on a mission to find her stolen insignia, so Subaru decides to offer his assistance. Together they track down the thief's hideout, where Subaru is quickly stabbed and killed, and that concludes the story of Re:Zero. Oh wait, turns out Subaru has a special ability that he calls Return by Death. Using this ability, Subaru must navigate his way through situations, surviving in a world where he is a stranger, and is hopelessly outmatched against most of his foes. Subaru then makes it his mission to have Amelia fall in love with him, and to discover the origin behind his newfound ability. What will happen on his adventures through life and repeated, agonizing death? Find out in Re:Zero. Why you should watch it. Re:Zero is a story filled with fun, gory action, a twisting, turning plot, and complex characters. This is a show that may seem like pretty standard anime fantasy schlock. Just another goddamn Sword Art Online. But there is a different take to Re:Zero that makes it unique. Now, characters when it comes to fantasy anime tend to be pretty similar, and Re:Zero does use some of those tropes for its characters. Take Subaru. He's a strong-willed teenage man who has a desire to always do the right thing. He can get a bit hot-blooded, but he has moments of tenderness that make the female characters swoon. This is a description that would fit nearly every anime protagonist that there is. Where Subaru differs though is how his flaws are treated by the show. His anime rage moments aren't just moved past, that are stated flaws that he has to address. That and the effect his powers have on him. He can return from death, but this process is agonizing and he has to die in many awful, painful ways over and over and over again. As well, all the interactions he had with the characters are washed away. And unlike in a similar scenario like the movie Groundhog Day, not everything happens in the exact same way as it did before. Characters will make different choices, or maybe Subaru does something just a little differently. So a valuable interaction you have with a character, a bonding moment. Once he dies and comes back, it might be gone forever. Situations that are created by this rift and emotional connection between characters are a driving aspect of the show. Coming back to an earlier topic, Subaru has a lot of personality flaws. Like, he's kind of arrogant and self-serving, not the brightest bulb, and he's kind of just a general dick. But again, these are flaws that the show wants you to recognize. His flaws and development as a character is important to the story, which I gotta say, true character development is not something you see a lot of in anime like this, and it's really refreshing. Moving on, the animation in this show is really solid. Studio White Fox is the team behind this, who also worked on the anime adaptation for the popular visual novel Steins Gate, and previous entry on anime you should watch, The Devil is a Part-Timer. Their animation quality is rock solid and consistent throughout the entire series, with brief moments that I would call incredible. Something I found interesting with it though is that Re:Zero actually uses a lot of 3D character models, similar to noted atrocity Berserk 2016. Unlike Berserk though, these are just used for background characters and are hardly noticeable. It's just a fun little example of how you can utilize 3D models inside of anime. What it's similar to. Would you believe Groundhog Day? Alright, well that is oversimplifying it a bit, but it is an offshoot of the replay a scenario until you get it right story. This time with a fantasy bend to it, and with it not being specified to a day. In fact, a much more accurate comparison would be the novel turned manga turned Tom Cruise movie All You Need Is Kill. Or as the movie is called, Edge of Tomorrow, or as they renamed it, Live, Die, Repeat, but we're not using that name because that name is stupid, we're gonna call it Edge of Tomorrow. These stories share the more action lean, and the protagonist having to grapple with repeated agonizing and gory death. Outside of this, I would compare it to fantasy anime such as No Game, No Life, which both obviously feature the character to another world trope, but also have a fourth wall breaking aspect to them where the characters feel like they know they're in a typical anime plot. This allows them to both acknowledge some of the more tiresome tropes that they themselves engage in, and to subvert other tropes, making the story feel a bit more fresh. Lastly, as a bit of a weird choice, I would compare Re:Zero to the anime Lion Barrels of Iron. Lion Barrels is a mech anime, so the plots themselves aren't very similar, but the flawed nature of the protagonist in each series feels really unique. Subaru and Koichi, the protagonist of Lion Barrels, struggle keeping their emotions in check and dealing with their own arrogance and immaturity when they're given these grand abilities. This struggle for our protagonists to grow and develop as characters is a key aspect to each show's story and of their paths to becoming heroes. Wrapping this up, Re:Zero is an anime that reminds me of what I really enjoy in anime, that allure it had when I was younger. It's got action, magic, a complicated fantasy world, likable characters, over-the-top gore, and a concept that creates exciting scenarios where it's hard to guess what will happen next. ReZero is a blast and without a doubt, an anime you should watch.